Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to, that is, peace be with you. Welcome to another segment of Al-Islam Worldwide Ministry Presents. As always, we like to begin our program with prayer. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen. And we're translating from Abdullah Yusuf Ali's translation. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. Our praise belongs to Allah, the cherisher and sustainer of all the systems of knowledge. Merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, sole master of the day of judgment. Thee alone do we worship, and thee alone do we seek for aid and assistance. Guide us along the path that is straight, the path of those whom thou hast favored, not the path of those who have earned your pleasure, nor of those who go astray. We say Ameen. And for our Christian brothers and sisters, Jewish brothers and sisters, Amen. Before we get started on our program, I know all of us are feeling the sadness of the unfortunate domestic terrorism, and that's what most of the intelligence officers and intelligence community is labeling what took place, unfortunately, in El Paso, Texas, Dayton, Ohio, and a few days back in Gilroy, California. So we'd like to have a moment of silent prayer to extend our sympathies and prayers to those who were slaughtered in this domestic terror act, and also the surviving victims of the family members that were lost. Ameen. Peace with you again. Assalamu alaikum to our Muslim brothers and sisters in the United States of America, beautiful island of Bermuda, over in U.S. Virgin Island, Hawaii, and many other places. And those of you all who are in the USA, peace be with you, our Christian brothers and sisters, family members, relatives, co-workers. And to our Jewish guests and family members, we say to you, Shalom. To my right, I want to introduce our guests. We have returning to us. I'll start with you, Zaria. We have missed you. You've been gone. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. And you were in school, correct? Yes. All right. May Allah bless you. But we happy to have you back with us tonight. And our other young adult, Cam Nelson. Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you for joining us again. Our regular guest, Lazette SALEEM. Assalamu alaikum. TERESA Abdullah, assalamu alaikum. Her husband, Dr. RASHEED Abdullah, my friend. Wa alaikum. I like that. That's nice. I like that one. Welcome. Always a pleasure to have you all here this evening. Tonight, we are continuing with our discussion, and we thank so many of you all for your comments and your openness and your appreciation for what we're doing with Allah's help. So this is part 4, the Quran and the Constitution. All right. Now tonight I'm going to begin, and this will be maybe just, well, it'll be slightly longer than usual for our opening statement, but I'm going to read from the book, Thomas Jefferson's Koran by Denise Spellberg. This will begin our program for the night, and then we will go to our guests for questions. So I begin reading on page 7, and this heading is called Imagining the Muslims as Citizens, meaning there weren't any Muslim citizens at the time. We'll read here and you'll see what I mean by that. Quoting at the last paragraph on page 7. A decade before George Washington signaled openness to Muslim laborers in 1784, he had listed 2 slave women from West Africa among his taxable property, Fatima and Little Fatima. were a mother and daughter, both indubitably named after Prophet Muhammad's daughter, Fatima. Washington advocated Muslim rights, never realizing that as a slaveholder, he was denying Muslims in his own midst any rights at all, including the right to practice their faith. This tragic irony may well have also recurred on the plantations of Jefferson and Madison, although proof of their slaves' religion remains less than definitive. Nevertheless, having been seized and transported from West Africa, the first American Muslims, now listen to this carefully now, the first American Muslims may have numbered in the tens of thousands, a population certainly greater than the resident Jews and possibly even the Catholics. Although some have speculated that a few former Muslim slaves may have even served in the Continental Army, there's little direct evidence any practiced Islam, and none that these individuals were known to the founders. In any case, they had no influence on later political debates about Muslim citizenship. The insuperable facts of race and slavery rendered invisible the very believers whose freedoms men like Jefferson, Washington, and Madison defended, and whose, now she's talking about this contradiction, they defended it, but they were slaveholders, these founding fathers. Washington and Madison defended their rights, and whose ancestors, Muslim ancestors, had resided in America since the 17th century, as long as Protestants had. Indeed, when the founders imagined future Muslim citizens, they presumably imagined them as white, because by 1790s, full American citizenship could be claimed by any free white immigrant, regardless of ethnicity or religious beliefs. The clash between principle and prejudice that Jefferson himself overcame in the 18th and 19th centuries remain a test for the nation today, in the 21st century, is what she's saying. Since the late 19th century, the United States has in fact become home to a diverse and dynamic American Muslim citizenry. But this population has never been fully welcomed. Well, we heard that about, what, a couple of weeks ago. Go back where you came from. Somebody said that. Whereas in Jefferson's time, organized prejudice against Muslims was exercised against an exclusively foreign and imaginary non-resident population. Today, political attacks target real resident American Muslim citizens, particularly in the wake of 9/11 and the so-called War on Terror. A public discourse of anti-Muslim bigotry has arisen to justify depriving American Muslim citizens of the full and equal exercise of their civil rights. For example, she says, recent anti-Islamic slurs used to deny the legitimacy of a presidential candidacy. She's talking about President Obama. She said this was used to deny the legitimacy of a presidential candidacy. He wasn't born here. He was born Muslim. We all heard that. Contained, but listen what she says though. Dear viewers, listen to this. She said it contained eerie echoes of founding precedents. The legal possibility of a Muslim president was first discussed with vitriol hatred during debates involving America's founders. Newsflash, ready for this? Thomas Jefferson would be the first in the history of American politics to suffer the false charge of being a Muslim. What? That's way back there. They accused Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers, in the debates of being Muslim. An accusation considered, she says, the ultimate Protestant slur in the 18th century. So this goes back way before President Barack Obama. They slandered and had slurs, religious slurs, against Thomas Jefferson. I never knew that. That a presidential candidate, and I'm about to conclude this opening statement, but I thought all of this is important. That a presidential candidate in the 21st century, in our time, should have been subject to much the same false attack, still presumed as politically damning to any real American Muslim candidate's potential for elected office, demonstrates the importance of examining how the multiple images of Islam and Muslims first entered American consciousness, and how the rights of Muslims first came to be accepted as national ideals. Ultimately, the status of Muslim citizenship in America today cannot be properly appreciated without establishing the historical context of its 18th century origins. Unquote. I recommend you all pick up this book and read what Mrs. Denise Spellberg is writing, because a lot of the prejudices that I was reading that exist today existed back in the 18th century with Thomas Jefferson. And I never knew that Thomas Jefferson was the first person to ever been accused of running for president to be a Muslim, long before President Obama. So we'll be making another one or two references to the book. So Cam, you get the first question tonight.
All right, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Okay, so I have here that the 13th Amendment to the Constitution abolished slavery in the states, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the question is there any Quranic verses that mentions the abolishment of slavery?
Okay, for you all, you may not heard him. I know he's sitting close to the mic, so maybe you heard Cam. He speaks up pretty clearly also. He's saying in the 13th Amendment, and I have my pocket Constitution, Cam. I'm becoming quite fond of it now. Quite a bit. The 13th Amendment on page 25, but what he asked is in the 13th Amendment abolishes slavery, and is there any reference in the Koran for the abolishment of slavery? So the quick answer is yes. But let's read the amendment, 13th Amendment to the Constitution. It's on page 25. And connected now with what we were reading in the opening statement by Thomas Jefferson, Madison, and George Washington and others. Section 1, Amendment 13. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States, or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Section 2. Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. And at the bottom of the note, it says the 13th Amendment was ratified on December the 6th, 1865. Now, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Madison, and others, they signed it saying shouldn't have no slavery, and they had slaves. And I don't read anywhere, I'm sure they took a long time to divest themselves of those slaves. That was their wealth in those days. So now let's go to the Quran, because the second part of the question was, is there any reference in the Quran to the abolishment of slavery? And there are actually a number of references. We could spend the entire program tonight, we won't because we have other guests, on just dealing with how Allah revealed to Prophet Muhammad the abolishment of slavery. Now, before I read this from the Quran, it's a misnomer and it's propaganda that Islam advocates and promotes slavery. And I've read it in a number of books, and I won't name any of the authors who were trying to discourage African-American authors, African-American people from becoming Muslims. And so they passed the word back in the 60s and before that, well, Islam enslaved the Africans, Islam did this, Islam. No, Islam doesn't enslave anybody, not the ideology. But I have to acknowledge and admit, because it wasn't anything we had anything to do with, some of the Arabs had slaves, but some of the Africans had slaves also. So it wasn't just unique only to the Arabs. I'm not excusing them, but in West Africa, you had unfortunate people who were less fortunate, captured and sold. And the historians, many of them who write about it in African histories and African American histories, and like I said, I have books come to my mind, but I won't mention any of them. But they talk about the fact that those who had less power were captured by those who had power when the slave masters came to catch them. But none of them really knew. Talking about the Africans now, they had no idea what was happening to these millions and hundreds of millions of slaves that were being shipped off from West Africa. They didn't have a clue. And later when they found out about how traumatic these Africans were treated, you know, they had quiet protests. But that's another subject for another time. So now let's go to the Quran. Chapter 90. And interestingly enough, Cam, and to our viewers, and I have read from this chapter before, it is titled Al-Balad, the city, but Balad is nation, Balad is town. Yeah, Al-Balad. And I'll read from, you've heard me read verse 2 many times, وَأَنْتَ حِلٌّ بِهَذَا الْبَلَدِ, and you are a free person in this city, right? That's verse 2. But I'm going to read for your question on the 13th Amendment, verse 10, an abolishment of slavery. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, of God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. Verse 10. وَهَدَيْنَاهُنْ نَجْدَيْنِ, and we have shown mankind, the two roads, the two highways of life. فَلَقْتَحَمَلْ عَقَبَةً, but he makes no haste on the path that is a steep incline, hard work. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْعَقَبَةُ, and what will explain to thee what that steep climb is, the hard work. Verse 13. فَكُّ رَقَبَةٍ, it is freeing the slave. So if verse 13 says freeing the slave, how does Islam support slavery? When God says to Prophet Muhammad, and we have the issue of the Prophet, prayer and peace be upon him, as I quote with Bilal and others, that he revealed to the Prophet what will explain to you what the hard struggle is, the hard road is. So this tells us that there were slaves in the time before the Quran, before Prophet Muhammad. The Arabs had slaves. But when you study the history now, so I have to be honest, it wasn't like chattel slavery in America, the 240, 50 years that we spent. And by the way, a number of people, my friend and others there in Ghana, traveling to Africa, and I mentioned last week, Mrs. The Honorable Speaker of the House, Mrs. Nancy Pelosi, led a group of congressmen and women to go to celebrate 400 years from 1619 to 2019. This is the 400th year that the Africans were brought from West Africa. So they're having a big conference in Ghana. As I speak to you now, one of my friends called me the other day. He was headed to New York to get on the flight so he could go. And I told him I was supposed to be on the trip, but I couldn't make it. So this is the 400th year now of the trafficking of slaves from West Africa. But when this verse is revealed, chapter 90, verse 13, most of the Africans and others, not just Africans, in Arabia, the poor Arabs were enslaved as indentured servants. Some of them, according to the history books, went and employed themselves. Now they call it slavery, but the word that's used in some of the hadith is khaddam. Khaddam. You know this term, khaddam. Khaddam is like a waiter. Yeah. When we say ayu khidma, I'm at your service. Yeah, like a butler or a servant. So some of them, because this was their way of making money, they went to the rich people and offered their service as indentured servitude. Bilal was one of those that went to work for, but unfortunately he had like Frederick Douglass. He had a cruel master. But Bilal was set free. Bilal ibn Rabah, the first muezzin, you know who this is, the first caller to prayer, the African that was born in Mecca, Arabia. When he heard the teachings of Islam in the Quran and according to the history books, the Bilal's slave master said to the Muslim brother who had converted to Islam, follow Prophet Muhammad, Arab. So these are Arabs speaking to Arabs in Arabia. What is now called Saudi Arabia, but back then it was just Arabia. And he said to the Arab, he said, what does Muhammad teach and Islam teach about black Bilal? And Bilal was standing there. This goes to the abolishment of slavery now. See? And dispelling this foolishness about Islam supporting slavery. Absolutely not. So Bilal is standing there, according to the history book, and it said that Bilal, the master said, what about this black Bilal? Where is he equal to me? And the Muslim brother there, he said, well, Jafar. That's right, Dr. Rasheed. Jafar. I was trying to think of it. Thank you. Jafar said, yes, Muhammad the Prophet teach that all men are equal like the teeth of a comb. And they said Bilal, the master gave him a whip. He said, hit him, Bilal, for saying you equal to me. Now, you know, this is crazy. The man just said, yeah, he's the same as you. So he's asking Bilal to beat him for saying that. Bilal looked at him like, that ain't about to happen, and dropped the whip. And he became the one that was tortured in Al-Islam, Bilal ibn Rabah. The first caller, the first muezzin for the prayer was Bilal ibn Rabah. So just hearing the words, yeah, just hearing that the Prophet said, all men are equal like the teeth of a comb, Bilal was liberated. And he was free from that point forward. And of course, they tortured him because they wanted him to be, to denounce Prophet Muhammad, to denounce. He had never even met Prophet Muhammad. He didn't even know who this was. He was like, you mean I'm equal to him? Yeah. Well, I'm free. And when Abu Bakr came to purchase Bilal, because the story got to Prophet Muhammad about Bilal, and how he was suffering in the desert. All true now. This is not fiction. This is history. And the Prophet sent Abu Bakr. Now, if he sent Abu Bakr, that meant Abu Bakr had money. He was one of the rich Muslims. Abu Bakr was. Prophet Muhammad was too, with Khadijah. Uthman was. Abdurrahman. They had resources. So he said, look, I heard about this black slave named Bilal that's standing fast. He won't give up. He said, go purchase him. So when Abu Bakr went, history, to purchase Bilal, we're talking about the abolishment of slavery now. Good question. That's why I said we could spend the whole night just on this, but we won't. But I love this story and this line of thinking and reason and this history. I love this history because it's so connected to us. All right? So connected to us now. So I'll conclude it right here. So Abu Bakr goes to purchase Bilal from his master. So he says, well, how much money do you want for Bilal? And he gave the number, the figure. So Abu Bakr paid the money. And when he paid it, slave master insulted him. He thought it was an insult. He said, I'm imagining he sounded like that. I don't know if he really did. Bilal, I know, Abu Bakr, if you had given me less money, I would have let you take it, this black slave. And Abu Bakr looked at him and said, and if you had asked for more money, I would have gave you more money. And thus began Bilal's story of liberation and freedom. All right? So Allah says here on the abolishment of slavery, Fakku Raqabah. That's the steep incline. That's hard labor now, work. And we can connect it with our people. Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Denmark Vesey, Nat Turner. Yeah, they don't like to talk about Nat Turner. That's okay. And John Brown, the white Southerner who was an abolitionist, John Brown. See, so we include him too. So, but they had hard struggles. That's what God is saying here to the prophet. When you start working to free people, now take it on another level now, because physically free, nobody is in physical shackles, not in the United States of America that we're really aware of now. I know there's sex trafficking and all that. We talked about that last week. But people are still in mental shackles, spiritual shackles. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا أَخْبَرَ. And what will explain to you what the steep climb is? Well, that's hard work, trying to bring people out of spiritual shackles and mental shackles. So God says, Fakul Rakaba, it is freeing the person who's a slave. And then the last one, just put this verse here because this goes to neighborly needs. Al it'amun fi yawmin dhi masghaba, of giving food, physical food, mental food, spiritual food, in a day when people are starving. So I'll conclude there, but I have a few other verses, and maybe we'll pick up some more of this, because that's an excellent question. Thank you for that question.
No problem.
Okay, Zaria, you get question number 2 for being back with us. Wa alaikum assalam. Now you'll speak up a little bit because that mic is over there.
My question is, in the preamble to the Constitution, it mentions to ensure domestic tranquility. In light of the recent domestic terror attacks, do we have domestic tranquility in America?
No. We have domestic chaos. Go ahead.
And is there anything in the Koran to reference that?
Yes, domestic. So if y'all didn't hear her question, she mentioned in the preamble to the Constitution, let's pick up the Constitution, that in the preamble to the Constitution, it mentions, and let me read it. We the people, this is on page 1. She's asking about the establishment of ensuring domestic tranquility, not establishment. Ensuring domestic tranquility. Tranquility means peace, security, safety. That's what it means. So that's why I said no, we don't have domestic tranquility, unfortunately, in this country. And a side note, and then her second part of the question was, does the Quran address ensuring domestic tranquility? Yes, and I'm going to read from the Quran. But here's a side note, and I'm reading this today, Zaria, in the paper. This chaos that we're having in America, all this violence, nations is hurting our tourism economically now. It's beginning to hurt us economically because Venezuela, Uruguay, Germany, Ireland, and Canada have issued travel warnings to the United States of America. And they're telling their people, be careful moving about in the city. We know that's true, but we have to be careful moving about in the city. We live here. So it's gotten to the point where it's out of control. But the founding fathers now, in the preamble, let's read it. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, we talked about that last week, establish justice. Well, I like what I'm hearing on the, it took them a while to get here now. I know your question on ensure tranquility, which is the next statement. But I can't pass up on this established justice because for the longest, we've been saying, we being Muslims in America and around the world, why is it that only the Muslims get tagged with the terrorism and the white nationalists that's killing more people get to be mental cases? They got mental problems. Well, now I'm hearing that the intelligence community, that is the FBI, the CIA, Director of National Intelligence, all of them are saying no. What happened in El Paso, they don't know the motive yet for what took place in Dayton, Ohio. They said no, we're trying this young man, and I'm not, you know, I have these questions sometimes like, how does he kill all these people, wound all these people, and just walk out and get his hands up like that? I said, well, I know Ray wouldn't have made it if it would have been him. He get killed and he ain't shot nobody. So establish justice. So here's my point. Now they're saying, no, we calling this, naming it what it is, domestic white nationalist terrorism. And you know what I actually did when I was watching on TV? I said, finally. And then the pundits and all the people speaking said, well, we having more problems from white nationalists and white racist supremacists than anything we getting from Al-Qaeda overseas. Our enemies know Al-Qaeda. I'm not saying they're not. But when is the last time you heard anything about Al-Qaeda or ISIS in the United States of America? Now, we're hearing about these domestic terrorists, and they're calling them that, and they're trying them for hate crimes, and they're trying them for domestic terrorism. And I said, whoa, they're going back to the preamble of the Constitution, founding fathers, established justice, ensure domestic tranquility. Okay, so this is your question on ensure domestic tranquility. All right, so we're going to go to the Quran and see what Allah revealed to Muhammad the Prophet on tranquility. Chapter 30, Zaria, is titled Arum. And by the way, note for our viewers, Christians and particularly the Catholics, this chapter is the 30th chapter of the Quran, titled Arum. You know what that means? The Roman Empire. So there's an entire chapter in the Quran about the Roman Empire, and it's favorable to the Romans now. It's nothing negative. You started, and the disbelievers in the time of the Prophet, they were making fun of the religious people, Catholics and others. They were in war, the Romans, and they heard that they were losing. So Allah addressed it when you start when you open up the chapter, said, and the Romans were defeated in a land close by, but they shall receive victory. So how are we anti-Christian, anti-Catholic, when the 30th chapter of the Quran is dedicated to the Catholics, to the Romans? Many people are not aware of that. Many Muslims are not aware of that. So I wanted to make sure we get that out to the audience. So in this chapter, Zaria, verse 20, 21, and 22. And by the way, the word for, the Arabic word for tranquility, sakina. S-A-K-I-N-A-H. Sakina. Sakina. Yeah, you can say sakina or sakina. That's your middle name. So you get to ask the question about sakina. You didn't know that, did you? The tranquility is sakina. You knew that. Yeah. All right. So Sakina gets to ask the question about Sakina. Sakina. All right, verse 20. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَكُمْ مِنْ تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ إِذَا أَنْتُمْ بَشَرٌ تَنْتَشِرُونَ. Among God's signs is this, that he created all of you. And remember I mentioned my racism now. We were talking about slavery. See, this is one of these verses for this too. And we're having all this big discussion in the news now about racism and hatred and fueling all these white nationalists that hate people because of skin color. Look what God said to the prophet 1,400 years ago. It's how far back. Among God's signs, his signs is this, that he created all of you, all human beings, everybody, every part of this world. I don't care where you came from, where you live at now. He created all of you from dust. And dust here meaning symbolic that we all start from nothing, like dust. And then behold, God says, you are human beings, scattered all throughout the earth, far and wide. Well, he didn't ask us about our ethnicity. I say that often. God didn't ask us about our ethnicity to we had a box to check which group we want to be in. It was God's choice and his choice alone. And he said he's a sign. He said, I scattered human beings throughout the earth. So how is it that one group think they better than another group? So God said, all of you were made from dust. And Muhammad the Prophet said, what? No white superiority over non-white. No black superiority over non-black. No Arab superiority over none. The Prophet in his last address, 1,452 years ago, here we are in the 21st century. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We've got satellites orbiting the earth. We've got people going out on rockets in space. And we still, grown people, still operating as though they're in kindergarten. With all this advancement and technology and everything we're achieving, Snapchat, WeChat, WhatsApp, Instagram, Google, and the science is gone. But the human part, the moral part, is stuck way back in the 1400s. Way back there. And this is faults of our leaders who are advocating this to keep the people on the elementary kindergarten level. Okay? Verse 21, Sakina, tranquility. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكِنُوا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَةٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. This is verse 21. Sakina, ZARIA, Sakina. And among his signs is this, God's sign, that he created all of you from among you, mates from among yourselves, that you may dwell, see, domestic, in peace, domestic tranquility. Right. So, domestic has two meanings here now. One, on the personal level, the individual level, right. At home. At home, domestic, at home. But the intelligence community just said this is domestic terrorism. So the home comes out of the home into the broad public. Start the small home, and then the small home evolve out into the big home. And as Imam Muhammad said one time, all of us live under Big Mama's house. We all live in Big Mama's house. You know, that was a movie. It was Big Mama's house. Big Mama's house. This is the earth, Mother Nature. Huh? So we all live under, we all have the roof of the sky that we share in this big home. So in this big home, the founding fathers said, we are working to ensure domestic tranquility, peace in the home and peace out in the wider home, the public square. All right? You reading. That you may dwell in tranquility with them, and God has put love, mawadda, not hate, correct? He has put love and mercy in your hearts. Verily, this a sign for those who reflect on it. So, why are we hating each other? We're supposed to have domestic tranquility. We should have peace at home. That's right. Peace at the school. Peace at the workplace. Peace in the neighborhood we're going about. We shouldn't hate our brothers and sisters because their skin color is different than ours. The texture of the hair is different. This is foolishness. Now, who benefits from this? Hate. We know who benefits from hate. Satan. Satan. And God says in the Koran, Satan sows dissension, yes, and discord between the people. That's right. Now he does it, and he'll get a mouthpiece out there, and sometimes that mouthpiece he has speaking for this hatred be the most powerful office in the country. That's right. If he allow himself, as you said earlier, sell your soul to the devil, yeah, sell your soul to Satan, you become blind. God tells us that. So he put a veil over your eyes. That's right. You can't see anything. You say something one breath, and in the next breath, you contradict what you just said. Well, that's a veil over the eye. They can't see it. So God says he blind them because it's the disease, that's right, in the heart. Hatred is a disease in the heart. Right. Founding fathers say, well, we understand that. So we want to, part of what we're doing with this Constitution is to ensure domestic tranquility and peace. And I started off, when you asked me, do we have domestic tranquility in America? No. We just have to say it like it is. We don't have it. This country is in chaos. Anarchy reigns supreme in the United States of America. And they allow it to get so far out of control. Look, they're having a hard time trying to rein it in. Because the lobbyists and the special interest groups, they got them all in their pocket. People vote for them, put them in office. Then they forget the people that put them in office. They go to these places and they give it up. And they scared to say, ban assault weapons. Well, I said it right. Ban assault weapons. This is intelligent. Well, it's mental health. That's even more reason to ban assault weapons. You said people don't have good intelligence now. So are you telling me that you saying they have mental problems, but it's okay for them to go buy assault weapons? See, that's the contradiction. All right? So domestic tranquility. Last verse I'm going to read for you, Zaria. We're ready to get another question in here right quick. Verse 22. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ خَلْقُ السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافُ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَأَلْوَانِكُمْ إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. And among his signs is this. So God so far has mentioned 3 of these signs. And among his signs is the creation of the skies and the earth. Now listen, 1400 years ago. And the variations in your languages and your colors. So color consciousness must have been a problem back then for God to address it to Prophet Muhammad. And it was. And like I said, when we finish the Constitution, we're going after this racism, the origins of it, the Aryan white supremacy. Oh, we work on it. And we're not going to shy away from the image that they carried around the world as the savior for everybody and the color they put on that. Oh, we're going to go after that. But we're going to come from the scripture like we're doing now, from the Koran. So God says, I made your languages different. So our brothers and sisters, God rest their souls, those who lost their lives in that Walmart and around El Paso, Texas. And that young man who drove all the way from Dallas, North Dallas, I know where he lived at, North Dallas. He drove at least 9 to 10 hours going west to El Paso, Texas. That's a long drive. And the people that he slaughtered and killed, talking about the invading America, I wonder where he get that idea from. They spoke different language. They spoke Spanish. The color of the skin was different than the murderer. So God told the prophet, said, among his signs is the creation of the skies and the earth, the variations in your languages and your colors. Verily in that are signs for those who have knowledge. Those who study the sciences, to tell us that nature, so God mentioned the skies and the earth. See, look at, I saw a rainbow the other day when we ran these storms. I said, look at those beautiful colors.
That's right.
In the heavens, in the sky, huh? Like Joseph Coat. Yeah, right. Joseph Coat of many colors. That's the Bible. You got it, Dr. Rasheed. All right. So God says, I make these colors. Watch the heavens. You see the various colors in the heavens. Watch the earth. You see the various colors in the earth. Now I have given the human being those various colors. Yeah. So thank you for that. And if we have more respect and love for each other instead of hate for each other, we'll respect each other more. And we pray that God bless our nation. And I've been making this prayer, not this week, I pray it all the time, that God bless our nation to live up to its best ideals. Yeah. And to reduce this violence in the United States of America so we can have domestic tranquility. Thank you very much for that. Out of time. Out of time. So 1, 2, 3. You all get to go first next week. Now I have Bilal gave me something here. We'll address that next week because we don't have time. It's a 6:45, so we're out of our time right now. We want to thank all of you all for joining us. I want to thank our guests, Cam and Lazette and Zaria. Welcome back, and Teresa and Rasheed. We'll pick up next week with you all with your questions. Now this is a big issue. This is a big subject for us, and it's all timely too. See, it's all timely. When we started working on it, we had no idea that all this stuff was going to be blowing up like this. So we're letting our voice of reason from the Koran, from Al-Islam, from the teachings of Muhammad the Prophet, and what Imam Muhammad has shared with us in the United States of America. And we hope you all enjoying it and appreciate it. And thank you for joining us on Facebook Live. Those of you all who watch us on our posts. You can watch this program on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is Al-Islam Worldwide Ministry. So give me a few hours today when I leave and post it up so you'll be able to get it before the night is out and watch it in the comfort of your home on your television. If you don't want to see it on your phones or your iPads or laptop, you just turn the TV on and you'll be able to watch this program again and share it and tell people to watch it and share it with family members and co-workers and let them hear from the Muslims in America and from the Word of God, the Quran. So thank you all. Assalamu alaikum to the Muslims. Peace be with you to our Christian brothers and sisters. Shalom to our Jewish brothers and sisters. Join us next week, same time, God willing. We say inshallah, 7 o'clock on Al-Islam Worldwide Ministry. And join us tomorrow for prayer. Masjid Muhammad for Jummah prayer, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I always like to remind you, you can go to our website, www.alislamworldwideministry.com. If you like our program, you like to support it, go to the menu button, click on the donate, and feel free to make a contribution. So we conclude as we began with prayer. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Our Lord, grant us the best that this world has to offer us, and grant us the best that the next life has to offer us, and save us from the punishment of the fires of sins. Ameen. Thank you all very much. Peace be with you.